Let's go back to what is a breaking news story. We turn to our business editor, Brian Quinn. A short while ago, the French Prime Minister hinting there could be compromise on day 37 of those French pension reform strikes.
Well, we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see about that. I think Francois says Saturday there will be some concrete proposals. Don't know what those will be yet. However, obviously, it's all hinging for unions and the government on this so-called pivot age of retirement. It's been a key red line for unions who don't want to see the retirement age raised from 62 up to 64. On Friday, the government also released a paper showing planned budget savings, the idea being that those who retire early would lose 5% of their full pension for each year before they turn 64. The government says that plan will bring 10 billion euros into pension coffers in 2025 and 12 billion euros in 2027. That's the date they've fixed for France's pension system to finally break out of deficit territory. Well, unions have been floating other ideas like tapping Social Security reserve funds or forcing high earners to raise their contributions. The head of France's main business lobby, the MEDEF, said Friday raising the retirement age must be part of an eventual deal. Here he is.
We continue to believe that a measurement of age is absolutely essential, and that is what we will say in future discussions on funding methods.
Well, next, U.S. plane maker Boeing has released some rather embarrassing internal communications around its troubled 737 MAX jet program. One exchange characterized the MAX as, quote, designed by clowns who are supervised by monkeys. The plane has been grounded worldwide since 2 deadly crashes last year. Those messages were handed over to U.S. lawmakers amid an ongoing investigation. They include open acknowledgement of design problems and mockery of government regulators. Shirley Sitbon has the details.
They've been called incredibly damning. The messages exchanged by Boeing employees over the 737 MAX airplane and its safety flaws point to the company's approach to the crisis. They show safety problems had been flagged long before the 2 crashes that killed 346 people, and the tone used is often disparaging.
Would you put your family on a MAX simulator-trained aircraft? I wouldn't.
No.
This airplane is designed by clowns, who in turn are supervised by monkeys.
Some employees discuss downplaying the plane's flaws when reporting to regulators. The messages show attempts to dodge scrutiny and the company's efforts to avoid pilot simulator training to cut costs. Boeing says it has released the documents to be transparent, adding that now it is confident that all of Boeing's MAX simulators are functioning effectively. The Federal Aviation Administration has said the messages do not raise new safety concerns.
While the tone and content of some of the language contained in the documents is disappointing, the FAA remains focused on following a thorough process for returning the Boeing 737 MAX to passenger service.
The planes have been grounded since March 2019. Boeing will have to pay airlines who have had to cancel thousands of flights. The company has decided to halt construction of the plane mid-January. It will also have to compensate victims' families. Boeing hopes that once the planes are allowed to fly again, it can start recovering from the crisis. But the FAA has warned against any attempts to try and speed up the process.
Well, Boeing shares are down over 1.25% as that news hits the market. Here in the EU, indexes fell at the close as the U.S. slaps fresh sanctions on Iran. Markets had gained earlier on what looked like easing tensions between the two. London, Paris, and Frankfurt all down in the neighborhood of 0.1% at the close. U.S. indexes overall losing some ground so far Friday as investors try to shake off a disappointing U.S. jobs report. America added 145,000 non-farm jobs in December. That's down from over 250,000 in November. Unemployment holding steady at 3.5%. The Dow had briefly broken the 29,000 mark for the first time before falling back. It's off around 0.25%. NASDAQ and the S&P just in the red. Analysts, though, say the weak jobs report is normal for this stage in the economic cycle.
At this stage of the economic expansion, we expect hiring to slow. The job market's tight. The unemployment rate is at 3.5%. It's harder for employers to find well-qualified workers at this point.
And finally, for business, bread ovens are heating up here in Paris as the city gets set to host the Europan conference starting this weekend. The Continental Bakers Trade Show will be the occasion for France's artisanal bread makers to mark their territory with the new label Boulanger de France. Traditional bakeries currently represent 55% of the French market, with 45% controlled by industrial producers and supermarkets. The small business sector has around 130,000 jobs spread across 33,000 small businesses. Well, both those figures are growing, but small bakers fear the encroachment of big chains. Thus, the new branding effort, Boulanger de France, will thus denote bakers who make not only bread, but also croissants and patisseries, which apparently supermarkets are not allowed to do, which I didn't realize, Francois, but they make some good baguettes sometimes.
Yeah, no disrespect to vegans, but are they making the distinction between margarine and buttered croissants?
Is there such a thing as a margarine croissant?
It's awful. It's awful, let me tell you. Many thanks for that, Brian Quinn. We'll have more new business news served up later.